Welcome to our deep dive today. We're taking a look at excerpts you sent in from the Book of Enoch. Pretty fascinating stuff.
Yeah, it's really something.
For anyone who, maybe hasn't heard of it, it's this ancient text. Didn't quite make it into the standard Bible, but
Right.
it gives us this really interesting look at kind of like the early beliefs about the world.
Definitely, yeah. What I think is really cool about the Book of Enoch is that it goes into this time period that's like kind of shrouded in mystery,
Right.
between creation and the flood.
Mm-hmm.
And it really expands on those little bits we get in Genesis about fallen angels.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And it's not just like a vague mention. It's like,
Yeah.
we're diving deep into it. And then there's Enoch himself.
Right.
Like this guy, according to this book, walked with God, received divine visions.
Yeah.
Like not just your average dude.
No, not at all. He was like a righteous prophet, the bridge between like humanity and the divine.
Okay, so let's talk about those fallen angels.
Okay.
Because this isn't like, we're not talking about vague figures here.
Nope.
This book names names. We've got Semjaza, Irakibara, Male, Akibara. Like they have identities,
Yeah.
they had desires, and they made a choice.
They did. They
At
disobeyed.
time.
Yeah. And their disobedience, it's not like a small thing.
No,
it's like a cosmic turning point, right?
Wow.
They come down to Earth, they start interacting with human women, and this is like, it's a huge deal. It sets the stage for the world to like descend into chaos.
Okay, so it's not just like a forbidden romance, right?
No.
These angels, they shared what the book calls forbidden knowledge with humans.
Exactly.
So we're talking charms, incantations, even secrets about like plants and stuff, the natural world.
Yeah, it's like, think of it like Prometheus, right?
Okay.
Stealing fire from the gods and giving it to humanity.
Right.
This idea that knowledge that shouldn't be ours is given to us.
Right.
And it makes you think about, what are the limits of our curiosity?
Yeah.
What's the balance between like us and the divine?
And it's like the whole world's just thrown out of whack by this, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So, but where's Enoch in all this?
Good question. He's not just like watching all of this happen.
Right.
He becomes a major player.
Okay.
So the fallen angels, they are freaking out, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
they don't want to face, divine punishment. So they're like, Enoch, dude, you got to help us out.
Oh, wow.
You got to write a petition to God, beg for forgiveness. You're our only hope.
So he's like a celestial lawyer
Right.
pleading their case.
Exactly. Big responsibility.
What a burden. So did God listen? What happened?
Well, not exactly what those angels were hoping for. God was not swayed.
No.
Enoch comes back, not with a pardon, but with a prophecy. Doom is coming. Actions have consequences, guys, even in heaven.
That's intense.
Yeah.
Like, it's a pretty grim picture, right?
Yeah.
World's about to end. Humanity's caught in the middle of all this divine drama.
Yeah.
Is there any hope left?
Well, that's where the visions come in. Enoch, he doesn't just deliver messages. He goes on these incredible journeys.
Okay.
Sees heaven, sees earth like no human has before. And these visions, they give us a glimpse into the big picture, like the grand scheme of things. And they offer both a warning and a tiny bit of hope.
So what did he see? Like, was it all, fire and brimstone, or was there more to it?
I mean, he saw some crazy stuff. He's taken on this whirlwind tour of the cosmos, right?
Ow.
He sees where the winds are kept, fiery rivers pouring into a giant sea, mountains covered in black clouds. And these aren't just random images. They're symbols. Like, they show the power of the universe, the forces at play.
That's amazing. It's like he's being shown the building blocks of creation.
Right.
The stuff that makes everything tick.
Exactly. And it wasn't just the physical world. He sees the water of life,
Right.
the fire of the West. Like, he's seeing the essence of existence itself.
Right.
But you're right. There was a little bit of hope. Remember those fallen angels?
Oh, yeah. They weren't doing so hot last time we checked in.
Right. Well, Enoch sees 7 of them, depicted as stars, bound and punished. It's a reminder, don't mess with the divine rules, but it also means there's some kind of justice system in place.
Right. So even when it seems like everything's falling apart, there's still this sense of order.
Right.
Like actions, good or bad, they have consequences.
Yes.
That's kind of comforting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And it leads into one of the most important themes that comes out of Enoch's visions, the coming of the Messiah.
Hold on, the Messiah.
Yeah.
Like the Messiah.
The one and only.
Okay, now that's a pretty big deal. How does that fit into, all this watcher stuff?
It's a really interesting connection. Enoch's visions, they introduce this idea of a Messiah, but, and here's the thing, it's not quite the same figure we see in, the Bible. He's described as a staff to the just, the light of the nations, like offering guidance, support. But there's another side to him, too.
Oh, I bet there is. Let me guess. Not all sunshine and roses.
Not exactly. He's also this powerful judge.
Oh.
The guy who brings about the final judgment sets up a righteous kingdom on earth. Not just peace and love, but a force to be reckoned with.
So this Enochian Messiah, he's, let's just say, a little more hardcore, less gentle shepherd, more like a cosmic warrior king.
You got it.
Okay.
And this version of the Messiah, it reflects what was going on back then. Think about it. World's facing huge challenges. The lines between good and evil are blurred. People needed a powerful savior, someone to fix everything.
It's all coming together. Fallen angels, forbidden knowledge, the world's about to end, and boom, Messiah's coming to set it all straight.
Right. It's like this giant cosmic puzzle, and Enoch has all the pieces.
Yeah.
And it's through his visions that we get these glimpses into the secrets of the world.
Cool.
Not just the spiritual stuff, but like how nature works. The Book of Enoch gets into the movements of the sun and moon and stars, the winds, the water.
So it's not just angels and demons. It's about understanding, like, the entire universe.
It is. That's what makes the Book of Enoch so cool. It's ambitious,
Yeah.
It wants to explore everything, the seen and the unseen. It reminds us that ancient wisdom was trying to find meaning in everything, connect the spiritual and the natural, something we're kind of, rediscovering now.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've covered a lot. Fallen angels wreaking havoc, Enoch as the messenger, a Messiah who's coming to judge everyone. What's next in our wild ride through the Book of Enoch?
Well, all those visions Enoch had, they all lead up to a major event, the final judgment. This is like the climax of the book.
That was intense, but apocalyptic level intense.
Oh, yeah. Picture this. The heavens are shaking, angels are surrounding God's throne, and everything people have ever done is being weighed. It's meant to show the power of the divine, but also the importance of our choices.
So it's not just punishment. It's about, like, justice.
Exactly. The Book of Enoch is all about justice and what happens because of what we do, good or bad. And it shows us this very clear separation of the righteous and the wicked.
Okay.
Like the righteous, they get these awesome clothes, they go to paradise. But the wicked, eternal torment.
Yikes. That's rough.
Mm-hmm.
But it does get at those big questions, doesn't it? Good versus evil, what happens after we die, all that.
For sure. The Book of Enoch dives right into those fundamental questions. It shows us a world where divine judgment is the ultimate outcome.
And it's crazy how these ancient texts still resonate, We're still trying to figure out those same things, morality, justice, the afterlife. It's like timeless stuff.
You're right. And you can see the influence of the Book of Enoch on later religious thought, like it echoes in other apocalyptic writing, even in the New Testament.
So we've got this huge showdown coming, this final judgment. But before we get to that, what about the flood? Like, that's a big deal in the Bible. How does that fit into, the Book of Enoch's whole story?
That's a great question. The story of Noah and the flood, it's all tied up with the Book of Enoch's themes of judgment and God intervening, In fact, the Book of Enoch says that Noah being born was a sign of hope. Like in this world that's gone completely corrupt.
Oh, so even with all the bad stuff, there's a little glimmer of hope for humanity.
Exactly. Noah represents this fresh start, like a chance to start over after the flood washes everything clean. And the flood itself, it's directly connected to what the fallen angels did and all the chaos that followed.
It's like everything comes full circle. The angels falling, wickedness spreading, the judgment coming, and then bam, the flood to like cleanse everything.
Right. The Book of Enoch gives us this whole narrative that ties all these events together.
Right.
It helps us understand the flood story as part of this bigger cosmic drama.
Wow, it's amazing how much depth there is to these ancient texts. We've gone through fallen angels, secret knowledge, visions of heaven and earth, the Messiah, and now the flood. It's like a crash course in ancient beliefs and the end of the world.
It really is. And it reminds us that these texts that aren't in the Bible, like the Book of Enoch, they can give us really valuable insights into what people believed back then, what they were worried about. They offer a different way to look at the stories we know from the Bible, and they make us think critically about religious traditions.
It's like adding another layer to our understanding, like appreciating how complex and diverse ancient religious thought really was.
Absolutely. And what's really cool about the Book of Enoch is that it's not just about abstract ideas. It gives us specific details, names, vivid descriptions. It brings everything to life.
Right. It's not just like fallen angels. We get names, ranks, even what they were good at when it came to messing with humans. It
Yeah.
makes it all so much more, well, real somehow.
Exactly. And it's these details that make the text so memorable. Like, remember that part about the spirit of hail being considered a good angel?
Yeah, that one stuck with me. It's like suddenly even a hailstorm has this hidden spiritual meaning. Makes you wonder what other secrets are hiding in plain sight.
Right. It speaks to that bigger message in the Book of Enoch about how the spiritual and physical worlds are connected.
Mm.
It's not just what happens in heaven or hell, it's about how those realms are woven into our everyday lives, even the natural world around us.
So we've really dug deep into the Book of Enoch. We've explored its secrets, talked about those big questions, good and evil, justice, the fate of humanity. But before we wrap up, is there anything else you think our listeners should know about this mysterious text? What final thought would you leave them with?
Well, the Book of Enoch, it might not be in the Bible, but it had a huge impact on religious thought. The ideas about angels, judgment, the Messiah, they all show up in later traditions.
It's like it planted seeds that grew and changed over time.
Exactly. And it also shows us what people were worried about back then. The world in the Book of Enoch, it's a world struggling with corruption, chaos, instability. They needed a savior.
Right. It's like a snapshot of a society facing some pretty intense existential questions.
Exactly. And then there's the power of the imagery, the visions, the journeys.
The Book of Enoch captures your imagination. It makes you think about those big mysteries of existence.
Like a window into another world. A world where angels walked among us and the fate of humanity was hanging in the balance.
Exactly. And finally, it reminds us that there are other sources of ancient wisdom beyond the Bible. Texts like the Book of Enoch can give us different perspectives, challenge our assumptions, make us think differently about our own traditions.
It's like broadening our horizons, getting a more complete picture of how people thought about the divine back then.
Exactly. So, keep an open mind, keep asking questions, and most importantly, keep exploring.
Yeah,
There's so much to discover in the world of ancient wisdom. It's full of surprises.
well said. And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into the Book of Enoch. We hope you found it enlightening, intriguing, and maybe even a little bit unsettling. Until next time, happy exploring. Well, all those visions Enoch had, the ones we just talked about, they all kind of point towards this big event, the final judgment. It's like the climax of the Book of Enoch, and the imagery it's really something.
Yeah, it sounds pretty intense, like apocalyptic.
Yeah.
What exactly does Enoch see in these visions of judgment?
Okay, imagine this. The heavens are shaking, angels are all gathered around God's throne, and every single thing people have ever done, it's being weighed like on this giant cosmic scale. It's meant to show just how powerful the divine is, but also how much our choices matter.
It's not just about, like, punishment. It's about justice, right? Making sure things are balanced.
Exactly. The Book of Enoch is really concerned with justice and consequences, and it paints this very vivid picture of the righteous and the wicked being separated.
Okay.
The righteous, they get these beautiful clothes, they enter paradise, but the wicked, they face eternal torment.
Whoa, pretty intense.
Hmm.
But it does get at those big questions, good versus evil, what happens after we die, all that.
Definitely. The Book of Enoch tackles those big questions head on. It shows us a world where, in the end, divine judgment prevails.
And it's fascinating how these ancient texts still resonate with us today. We're still trying to figure out those same things, morality, justice, the afterlife. It's like they never go out of style, these questions.
You're absolutely right. And you can see the influence of the Book of Enoch on later religious thought. Like, it pops up in other apocalyptic writing, even in the New Testament.
Huh, interesting. So we've got this huge showdown coming, the final judgment. But before we get to that, what about the flood? That's a pretty big deal in the Bible. How does that fit into the Book of Enoch?
That's a great question. The story of Noah and the flood, it's really woven into the Book of Enoch's themes of judgment and, divine intervention. In fact, the text says that Noah's birth was a sign of hope in this world that had become totally corrupt.
Oh, so even in the midst of all this wickedness, there's this little glimmer of hope for humanity.
Exactly. Noah, he represents a new beginning, like a chance for humanity to start over after the flood washes everything clean.
Yeah.
And the flood itself, it's directly tied to what those fallen angels did and all the chaos that came after.
It's like it all comes full circle. Angels falling, wickedness spreading, judgment looming, and then bam, the flood comes to cleanse everything.
Precisely. The Book of Enoch gives us this whole narrative that connects all these events together. It helps us understand the story of the flood as part of this much bigger cosmic drama.
Wow, it's amazing how much depth there is to these ancient texts. We've gone through fallen angels, secret knowledge, visions of heaven and earth, the Messiah, and now the flood. It's like a crash course in ancient beliefs and the end of the world.
It really is. And it reminds us that these texts that aren't in the Bible, like the Book of Enoch, they offer these really valuable insights into what people believed back then, what they were afraid of. They give us a different way of looking at those Bible stories we think we know. And they challenge us to think critically about religious traditions.
It's like, yeah, like adding another layer to our understanding, appreciating how complex and diverse ancient religious thought really was.
Absolutely. And what I think is so cool about the Book of Enoch is that it doesn't just present these abstract ideas.
Yeah.
It gives us specifics,
Yeah.
names, vivid descriptions, and it makes everything come alive.
Right. It's not just like fallen angels. It's like, okay, this guy, he was in charge of this,
Yeah.
and this one, she was really good at that.
Exactly. We get their ranks, their areas of expertise. It makes it all so much more real somehow.
Right. Like, remember that detail about the spirit of hail being considered a good angel?
Oh, yeah, that one was great.
It's like suddenly even a hailstorm has this hidden spiritual meaning.
Hmm.
Makes you wonder what other secrets are hidden right in front of us.
I know, right? It speaks to that bigger message in the Book of Enoch about how the spiritual and physical worlds are interconnected. It's not just about heaven or hell, it's about how those realms are woven into our lives, into the natural world.
So we've really dug deep into the Book of Enoch. We've explored its secrets, talked about good and evil, justice, the fate of humanity. But before we wrap up, is there anything else you think our listeners should know about this mysterious text? What final thought would you leave them with?
Well, the Book of Enoch may not be in the Bible, but it really did have this huge impact on religious thought. Those ideas about angels, judgment, the Messiah, they show up in later traditions.
It's like it planted seeds that grew and changed over time.
Exactly. And it gives us this window into what people were worried about back then. The world of the Book of Enoch. It's a world dealing with corruption, with chaos, with instability. They were searching for a savior.
It's like, yeah, like a snapshot of a society facing some really, really deep, deep questions about existence, about their place in the world.
Exactly. And then there's the power of the images, the visions, those incredible journeys.
Right.
The Book of Enoch, it captures your imagination. It makes you think about the mysteries of existence.
Like a glimpse into another world, a world where angels walked among humans and the fate of humanity was hanging in the balance.
Exactly. And finally, it reminds us that there's more to ancient wisdom than just the Bible. Texts like the Book of Enoch, they give us different perspectives. They make us question our assumptions. They can even make us think differently about our own traditions.
Yeah, it's like expanding our horizons, getting a fuller picture of how people thought about the divine, way back then.
Exactly. So keep an open mind, keep asking questions, and most importantly, keep exploring.
Yes,
There is so much to discover in the world of ancient wisdom. It's full of surprises.
well said. And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into the Book of Enoch. We hope you found it enlightening, intriguing, and maybe even a little bit unsettling. Until next time, happy exploring.
It really makes you think, the Book of Enoch, yeah, it's not in the Bible, but it really did have a big impact. Like those ideas about angels, judgment, the Messiah, they show up later on in other traditions.
Yeah, it's like it planted those seeds that kind of grew and evolved over time.
Exactly. And it gives us this look into what people were worried about back then. The world in the Book of Enoch, it was a world dealing with all this corruption and chaos, this instability. They really needed a savior.
It's like a snapshot of a society wrestling with like those really, really deep questions about existence, about their place in the grand scheme of things.
Exactly. And then there's the power of the images, the visions, those journeys. Like, it's just, wow.
The Book of Enoch, it really does capture the imagination. It makes you think about those big mysteries,
It does. And finally, it reminds us that there's more to ancient wisdom than just the Bible. These texts, like the Book of Enoch, they offer us different perspectives. They challenge us to question what we think we know. They can even make us think differently about our own traditions.
Yeah, it's like broadening our horizons, getting a more complete picture of how people thought about the divine back then.
Exactly. So keep an open mind, keep asking questions, and most importantly, keep Exploring.
Exploring, yeah.
There's just so much to discover in the world of ancient wisdom. It's really full of surprises.
Well said. And on that note, we'll wrap up our deep dive into the Book of Enoch. We hope you found it enlightening, intriguing, and maybe even a little bit unsettling. Until next time, happy exploring.